Hi guys, so today I opened the bank account and in talking to the lovely banker, we got into the discussion after I asked her about her period, or I didn't know it was her purity ring, I thought it was a wedding band, and she said it was her purity ring, and her pastor gave it to her, and we got to discuss, and I saw her light up so much about, God and all that he does, and I thought it was a wonderful conversation, because I agree. I think God, and having a connection with Him does change your life, and He can be there when a man, any human, not just to say a man, but when a man can't, and where men can't, and where men can't go and heal and do. And I've had a lot of spiritual experiences throughout my life. So she asked me, like, do I go to church? And, you know, I think people who are very religious don't really know how to proceed and receive my response. I do believe in God, and these are all my beliefs, but my mother was a very good researcher, and I learned very early on that people can be crucified on the cross and not die. Now, it can take a lot out of you. You may need a few days to recover, but there is even different documents that say Jesus did not die and went on to live a life and have children with Mary Magdalene. So uh, that's one aspect of it. There's a man in the Philippines named Rolando that sacrifices himself for crucifixion every year and literally is nailed to the cross, and he is not dead when it's all over. And there are other people who do this around the world. And what ends up happening is, through the stress and anxiety, their bodies become very weakened, and it takes days to recover from something like that, especially if they're fasting beforehand. Then it may take a couple days for them to lay down and then get back up again, which in ancient days sometimes people were pronounced dead when they went into a coma or something of that nature. So if Jesus was a man and he went and did this and maybe spiritually died, or his body was very weakened, it is quite possible that some days after some rest, he got back up and was considered alive again. And a lot of people don't like to hear that part of why I've kind of like questioned a lot about the Bible, which was also written by men. God did not come down and write this piece of paper and say, this is the Bible. Men wrote the Bible, and the Bible has also been translated to manipulate over time, and that wasn't the word of God. God didn't know. God didn't say, "Slaves obey your masters." He didn't say that. Like, God didn't say that. So it's very interesting that people are so uh, pressed to follow a book written by multiple people, translated multiple times, and then used for manipulation. The other side to that is, I'm an African American woman living in America. I have to question when someone says you can't speak your native tongue, you can't worship your native gods, you cannot call God anything besides God. You need to learn who Jesus is, the spirituality and the magic and the connection to nature. You cannot even call yourself or each other by the name that that your tribe gave you. So for me, as African American, to know that my African ancestors were cut off from their spiritual beliefs and given Christianity so freely to manipulate them, especially with the part in the Bible that's written by men that says slaves obey your masters, to manipulate them to continue to be slaves. Um, I have a tough time with following that. Now, the other issue is I can't go back to a specific place in Africa and say, you're my great great grandmother, you're my cousin, or you're my uncle, because our history is cut off. It'll hit a wall. We can do these DNA research tests and say you're from the Sahara, South Africa, or you're from West Africa, or you're part this or part that, and you're sprinkled from here or there. But as African Americans, we can never actually trace back our DNA and find exactly where we're from. So that's kind of tough to say, well, I would love to know some spiritual practices from my own culture, but having no clue where that is, it's kind of like, wow. And then for me, religion has been used repeatedly to conquer, to murder, and to destroy other religious areas. And those religious areas were made of humans. And for me, human life is beautiful. All religions are based off of love. So for people to take religion and use that as a, my God said your people are this, that, and the third, and I should destroy them, is ridiculous to me. And I can't believe that either. So I've really come to grips of accepting there is a God, because I've had a lot of spiritual things happen to me. I've seen a lot of beautiful things spiritually. I've seen another side to what we just think as this human body, human flesh type of thing. And I believe that there is a God. Absolutely, I believe there is a God. It's the other little bits and pieces of it that I have an issue with. For instance, white gloves were put on Africans slash African Americans when they were allowed to be ushers in the church, but not, active part of human beings, because the Caucasians didn't want the dirty black skin touching them or their money or anything in the church. So they put nice white gloves on them. And those gloves are still worn today in churches. So for me, what I know to be true and factual is that we were displaced, and then our religion or our spirituality was displaced, and then it was replaced with Christianity, and they went into baptism and Catholic or whatever, and it goes on and on and on. And I do believe there was a man named Jesus. Absolutely, no issue with that. Do I believe he was half man and half God? I think he was a man, and I think just like certain stories can be exaggerated, I think that certain things could have been done, and then you look at it and you say, well, oh, they said it was like a 10-foot alligator in the river, and then it goes to a 15-foot alligator. It's a 20-foot alligator, and now it's a 40-foot alligator. An alligator might be 10 foot when you saw it, 15 when you captured it, but it's just an exaggerated story. And like I said, even with his death, he probably was a bit tired after getting, nailed to a cross, carrying a heavy cross, having anguish for days. I would probably need to sleep for a couple days myself. But these modern day crucifixions that you can go watch on YouTube and that I will put below, everybody doesn't die on the cross. Sorry. Just newsflash, these are factual things. These men are not dying on the cross. So, I just have a lot of questions that people try to answer. And I'm sure I'll have a lot of comments of people trying to answer below. And I'm not really trying to, everybody can go all day with their beliefs. But this is why when people try to invite me to church, no thanks. I believe in God. I think anybody who has a relationship with God or a religion, it's great to have something that guides you in morality. But I think I'm still good in guiding myself, because at the end of the day, you have a decision to do right or wrong. And I think that is as simple as things come down to. Are you doing good things, or are you doing bad things? Are you knowingly lying, or are you telling the truth? Are you being honest? Are you returning change? Are you taking your money and helping somebody that needs help? Are you doing the best that you can do with what you have? Are you waking up positive every day in a good mood? And then the other side to that is sometimes we get so encumbered in dogma of religion, we do not do physical work to ourselves. Jesus is not necessarily going to heal you if you have health issues and you're not changing the way that you eat. You're constantly eating bull and you're constantly in and out of the hospital. We want to pray over this person in the church and tell them God fixes all, but really nobody's looking at their diet. So people aren't doing the physical things. You're depressed and you're bipolar, and you might need some medication to even you out, but Jesus is going to fix it, until years later when that person kills themselves, because Jesus didn't quite fix it. Jesus made people that were smart enough to make medication to give you some peace enough to handle your bipolar disorder. But it's, we rely so much on Jesus fixing it versus saying, okay, well, Jesus will help you along the way, but you need to start helping yourself. And we fall back on religion so much that we don't actually do the physical work that we need to do. We think praying is going to fix everything, and sometimes you need to pray while you're doing. But I'm tapping out. Y'all can go crazy in the comments. Have at it. I'm going to tell myself right now, and I know this is going to lead way for a lot of different comments. I'm going to let you all handle each other's comments. I've said what I had to say. These are my beliefs, and I'm going to leave it at that. This is what I believe, and this is why. I'm going to also put a link in the bottom to the Crucifixion video that I am speaking about that was covered by National Geographic years ago. So, as they say, God bless.